When Batman Returns hit theaters in 1992, it was one of the most anticipated sequels ever made. And that hype gave Tim Burton an unusual level of freedom. That freedom is exactly why this film is so disturbing. Instead of steering Batman back toward his comic book roots, Burton pushed him deeper into a strange, stylized nightmare. The result wasn't camp, it was controlled chaos. Behind the Christmas lights and Gothic sets lies a film loaded with unsettling imagery, twisted plot choices, and the darkest vision of the Dark Knight ever put on screen. It's easy to forget now, but after the 1989 Batman exploded in theaters, the pressure on the sequel was unbelievable. Everyone expected something bigger, cleaner, more superhero-like. And that pressure didn't fall on the studio. It fell straight on Tim Burton. People assumed he would simply repeat the formula, give Batman a new villain, add more gadgets, and push out another safe blockbuster. But here's the part that really changes the story. Burton had no interest in making a normal superhero film. And Warner Brothers, riding high on the success of the first movie, basically said, "Do whatever you want." That kind of freedom sounds amazing, but it also meant Burton had the chance to drift into the darker parts of his imagination. And he did. Instead of leaning into the classic comic book image of Batman, he literally took a dark turn. He wasn't thinking in terms of comic panels. He was thinking in terms of fairy tales, nightmares, and lonely outsiders. And because the studio trusted him so completely, nobody stepped in to stop him. So while the world was expecting a superhero sequel, something bright enough for children and simple enough for casual viewers. But Burton came back with something closer to a psychological horror story, wrapped in a blockbuster costume. And whether people loved it or hated it, nobody could deny that it was unlike anything the franchise had seen before. Now look, the first few minutes of Batman Returns immediately tell you everything you need to know. This is not a typical superhero movie. Gotham is cruel. Its people are capable of horrifying acts. Burton wastes no time making that clear. A baby is born deformed, and instead of care or protection, his own parents throw him off a bridge. Pee Wee Herman's terrified, screaming father only adds to the sense of human cruelty. This is the film's first truth. Gotham is a city that rejects the different, punishes the weak, and allows darkness to fester. It's a city that breeds monsters, literally and figuratively. And Oswald Cobblepot the Penguin is one of those monsters. He isn't born evil. He's shaped by a city that abandons him, and a society that mocks his deformity. Burton forces the audience to confront that reality immediately. The sequence is dialogue-free, letting the visual horror sink in. The baby's slow journey into the sewers, the eerie music, the shadows. It's all designed to unsettle you. And it does. Burton draws from German expressionism here. Angular shadows, distorted forms, and oppressive framing create an environment that feels alive, almost conscious. Gotham isn't just a setting, it's a character, one that is complicit in creating the Penguin. By starting the film this way, Burton sets the stage for everything that follows. The Penguin's terror, Catwoman's transformation, even Batman's brooding vigilante persona all exist in response to this darkness. The opening isn't just shocking for shock's sake, it establishes the moral landscape of Gotham, unfair, grotesque, and unforgiving. Burton doesn't allow you to feel safe in your seat, and he never lets you forget that the line between victim and villain is dangerously thin in his world. Now, if you noticed, Burton didn't make the Penguin into just a villain. He's Gotham's dark mirror. Danny DeVito's portrayal is grotesque and unforgettable. Webbed hands, crooked teeth, a waddling gait. But what makes him truly terrifying isn't just his appearance, it's how the city created him. Rejected by his parents, abandoned by society, and left to survive in the sewers, Cobblepot embodies the consequences of Gotham's cruelty. His bond with the Penguins, the creatures he raises as his children, is both unsettling and revealing. It's twisted family symbolism, loyalty, care, and love, but filtered through violence and revenge. When he weaponizes these creatures, turning them into instruments of terror, it's a direct reflection of his upbringing. The Penguin's morality isn't simple. It's a response to neglect and abuse. He attacks Gotham not just for power, but because the city taught him to be dangerous. Burton amplifies this darkness with the Penguin's political ambitions. He isn't just a criminal. He's a manipulator, a populist, a figure who exploits fear for influence. Misogyny, cruelty, and spectacle are his tools, yet they are never played for laughs. Watching him parade through the city in grotesque pageantry, threatening citizens, and forcing Batman into impossible moral choices, the audience sees the full weight of what Gotham's neglect can produce. The Penguin's story is the film's first lesson in the dark truth behind Batman Returns. Evil isn't born in a vacuum. It's nurtured by society. And Burton makes that point visually, narratively, and emotionally. Every grotesque laugh, every sinister plan, every act of violence is a consequence of a world that has turned its back on innocence. Now you see Gotham City? It's an extension of the story's darkness. Massive marble statues loom over streets like silent overseers. Twisted bridges and alleys trap citizens in claustrophobic spaces. Even clocks like the giant cat clock seem judgmental and alive. Burton turns architecture into a psychological tool, showing us that Gotham itself is corrupt, oppressive, and capable of shaping the people who live within it. The city's design tells us a truth about the world of the film. Every shadow, every looming building, every distorted angle amplifies tension. You feel the city pressing down on characters like a weight. Shrek's sterile corporate office reflects his cold, calculating menace. Catwoman's chaotic apartment mirrors her fragmented psyche. The Penguin's wet, shadowy sewers illustrate his grotesque isolation. In Burton's hands, environments don't just hold stories, they tell them. Burton borrows from German expressionism, but with his own flair. And when we see Batman perched above the city, surveying the streets below, we understand that his fight isn't just against villains. It's against a world built on cruelty and fear. Gotham itself is part of the nightmare, and Burton makes that crystal clear. Max Schreck is one of the creepiest villains in Batman Returns, and Christopher Walken sells every frame. His halting speech, deliberate pauses, and unnerving calm make him terrifying without ever raising his voice. You never know when he'll snap, and that unpredictability keeps Gotham and the audience on edge. Schreck isn't just a murderer. He's a master manipulator. He casually references Nazi tactics, suggesting staged events to consolidate power, and treats human life as expendable. The morality in Gotham, Burton shows us, is broken at every level. Schreck thrives in a system that rewards cruelty, ambition, and corruption, showing us the dark side of corporate power. The murder of Selina Kyle is a defining moment. She witnesses things she shouldn't, works too hard, and Schreck kills her methodically. The way Walken frames the scene makes it chilling. First, intimidation, then a casual, "Actually, it's a lot like that," and finally, the push through the window. Selina's near-death experience, or what seems like her death, marks a turning point in the movie. It's not just horror, it's commentary. Burton makes us feel the stakes of a world where power protects the morally corrupt and punishes the innocent. Schreck's calculated evil contrasts with the chaotic violence of the Penguin, showing two sides of Gotham's darkness. One is organized, corporate, and cold. The other is grotesque, theatrical, and emotional. Together, they illustrate the moral rot that defines the city. Schreck proves that true terror doesn't always come from mutation or deformity. It can come from a suit, a briefcase, and a completely unmoored sense of entitlement. Selina Kyle starts as a typical office worker, belittled and dismissed by her corporate superiors. Comments about her lack of house training and repeated jokes about her failed love life highlight subtle but pervasive sexism. Burton uses this to show the dark reality of Gotham. Even the innocent are trapped by a society that undervalues them. After Schreck kills her, or appears to, Selina experiences trauma that pushes her into a psychological breakdown. Her transformation into Catwoman is not just a costume change, it's a complete rebirth. She tears down signage to spell out "Hell Here," spray paints her apartment, and sews her leather outfit. These symbolic acts are violent, cathartic, and slightly unhinged. They show the audience the cost of surviving in a world that punishes vulnerability. Her vigilante actions are equally complicated. She stops a man from assaulting a woman, but her lecture to the victim shows a morally gray perspective. Empowerment here is mixed with trauma. Her sense of justice is filtered through pain. Burton doesn't give her simple heroism. Instead, he forces the audience to grapple with the messy psychology of trauma. Even her leather costume is a statement. It's not sexy for fun. It's a mask, a shield, and a weapon. Every whip crack, flip, and alley confrontation reminds us that Gotham has created a fighter who is as psychologically scarred as she is physically agile. Catwoman is terrifying, morally ambiguous, and oddly sympathetic, all at once. Burton uses her arc to show that empowerment in Gotham comes at a high cost, and survival often requires embracing your own darkness. Burton's darkness isn't just psychological, it's spectacularly violent. The Red Triangle gang attack is a perfect example. They arrive in oversized gift boxes, dressed in clown and skeleton costumes, and immediately begin terrorizing a public gathering. It's chaotic, absurd, and horrifying. The minigun massacre that follows pushes the scene from dark humor into real horror. Civilians are in real danger, and the gang's theatrical presentation doesn't make it any safer. It makes it scarier. Burton is playing with tone, forcing the audience to laugh and recoil at the same time. You're never fully comfortable, because Gotham's nightmare doesn't pause for entertainment. This sequence also establishes a pattern for the film. Spectacle and horror coexist. Violence is public, grotesque, and absurd, but it's grounded in realism. Clowns kill with machine guns. Ordinary citizens are powerless spectators. If you thought the Penguin was just a grotesque villain, Burton quickly proves he's operating on a catastrophic, almost biblical scale. Deep in the sewers, Cobblepot lays out his ultimate plan: mass murder of Gotham's firstborn children. It's horrifying not just for the sheer violence, but for the logic or lack thereof behind it. The Penguin wants revenge against the society that abandoned him, and he's willing to weaponize innocence to make a point. Burton frames the sewers like a twisted cathedral. Shadows loom, water drips ominously, and the scale of the Penguin's lair emphasizes his delusions of grandeur. The imagery reinforces the thematic core of the film. Gotham creates monsters, and those monsters can reflect the worst parts of human society. Penguins, toxic waste, and sadistic ingenuity combine into a plan that is both absurd and terrifyingly logical within the twisted logic of Gotham. What's chilling is how methodical Cobblepot is. He uses the Batmobile to threaten civilians, manipulates bats to create chaos, and orchestrates events with almost ritualistic precision. Burton shows us that evil in Gotham isn't chaotic by accident. It's nurtured, planned, and executed with cold attention to detail. This sequence also reinforces the moral complexity of the film. The Penguin is not a mindless killer. He's a product of neglect, cruelty, and social rejection. Burton uses the biblical overtones. The firstborns, the sewer cathedral, to suggest that Gotham itself is complicit in the violence it breeds. Audience unease isn't just from gore, it's from the reflection. This darkness has real roots, and it could exist anywhere in a city that abandons empathy. The plan ultimately fails, but the terror lingers. The Penguin sewer scheme solidifies one of Burton's core points. Gotham's nightmare isn't confined to rooftops or back alleys. It runs underground, festering in ways most of its citizens will never see until it's too late. Burton doesn't soften the ending. By the time the climactic sequences roll around, both major antagonists, Cobblepot and Shrek, meet their violent ends. The Penguin dies from toxic waste, a grotesque mirror of the society that created him. Max Shrek dies in a bizarre combination of electrical shock and Catwoman's wrath. Even Catwoman's survival is left ambiguous, reminding the audience that heroism in Gotham rarely comes without scars. The violence is visceral, theatrical, and morally complex. Batman kills a large henchman with dynamite, smiling in quiet triumph. Cobblepot's frame-ups, the public shootings, and the manipulations of innocent citizens remind us that consequences in Gotham are brutal and immediate. Burton refuses the audience a comforting resolution. Instead, we're left to consider the cost of chaos, trauma, and neglect. This conclusion also reinforces the film's psychological depth. Villains are tragic products, Batman is brooding and morally ambiguous, and the line between hero and perpetrator blurs. The spectacle of death isn't just for shock, it's commentary. Burton asks us to confront a city where everyone is shaped by darkness, and where even victories are steeped in moral ambiguity. Amid the gore, madness, and moral rot, Burton wraps it all in Christmas. The holiday decorations, massive trees, and winter streetscape create a bizarre contrast with the film's violence. It's cheerful in appearance but utterly grim in practice, a twisted inversion of traditional holiday films. This contrast amplifies the darkness. While Gotham celebrates, it also festers. Citizens ignore growing threats. Corporate evildoers plot in the shadows, and monsters rise beneath the city streets. Burton uses Christmas to make the audience uneasy. The season of joy becomes a backdrop for horror, showing that no environment, no matter how festive, can mask Gotham's true nature. The juxtaposition reminds viewers that Batman Returns isn't a conventional superhero tale. It's a psychological and moral exploration, wrapped in spectacle, gore, and gothic pageantry. And just like Gotham itself, it's beautiful, frightening, and completely unrepentant. By the time Batman Returns reaches its final act, the film drops any lingering illusion of superhero safety. Burton takes the gloves off. The Penguin dies in one of the bleakest villain endings in the franchise. Collapsed, wheezing, covered in toxic sludge, abandoned by the city he wanted to destroy. The Penguins. His only real family solemnly carry his body into the sewer water. It's disturbing, tragic, and strangely tender. Burton doesn't celebrate his death. He mourns what Gotham created. Then there's Max Schreck's demise, a full-circle moment of poetic justice. Catwoman electrocutes him with a kiss, turning his corporate smugness into burned skeleton ash. It's not heroic, it's not triumphant, it's vengeance. And Burton isn't interested in telling us whether she's right or wrong. He wants us sitting in the discomfort of it. And Catwoman? Her fate is deliberately ambiguous. She disappears in the blast, reappears in silhouette, then vanishes again. She's not alive for a sequel. She's alive for the symbolism. A reminder that Gotham's broken souls don't get neat endings. This conclusion is Burton's thesis in motion. In Gotham, no one walks away clean. No heroic speeches, no redemption arcs, just complicated people caught in emotional, physical, and moral violence. It's bleak, haunting, and ultimately the dark truth behind Burton's world. Nothing in Gotham ends peacefully. It's almost absurd that a movie this violent is wrapped in Christmas lights, but that's the point. Burton deliberately turns the holiday, normally warm, bright, and hopeful, into a cold, ironic backdrop for Gotham's decay. Everywhere you look, snow, ornaments, moving toy soldiers, and a towering Christmas tree. But none of it makes Gotham feel safe. The cheer is cosmetic. The horror underneath it is real. The Red Triangle Gang attacks during a tree lighting ceremony. Penguin launches political schemes with candy cane-colored propaganda. Even Shrek, Gotham's corporate Grinch, hides his power grabs behind holiday philanthropy. Burton weaponizes Christmas imagery to expose a deeper truth. Society loves the appearance of goodness more than the practice of it. The holiday setting becomes a sharp critique of consumerism. The city is drowning in decorations while ignoring corruption, inequality, and violence. The bleak reality is wrapped in tinsel, so no one has to confront it. The irony. Burton didn't just make a dark superhero movie. He made one so dark it blew up the marketing machine that funded it. Parents were furious. They walked into theaters expecting a kid-friendly adventure, because McDonald's had launched a massive Happy Meal campaign with Penguin toys, Batmobiles, and Catwoman figures. Then they actually saw the movie. It didn't take long for complaints to explode. Parents said the film was too violent, too sexual, too unsettling for children. The Penguin's dripping black bile, Catwoman licking Batman's face, Shrek's murder. None of this was McDonald's friendly. Critics slammed the film for misleading advertising, and the toy companies panicked. McDonald's publicly distanced itself from the movie. Warner Brothers faced a backlash they never expected, and executives realized they'd given Burton too much creative freedom. They wanted toy sales and family audiences. Burton gave them trauma and existential dread. The fallout had real consequences. Batman Returns became ground zero in the debate over the PG-13 rating. It forced studios to rethink how dark a blockbuster could be while still being marketed to families. And it changed how superhero films were sold, packaged, and filtered through brand safety. The controversy didn't just shape how people saw the movie. It shaped the entire future of the Batman franchise. Inside Warner Brothers, panic spread fast. The film made money, yes, but not Batman 1989 money, and definitely not justified our Happy Meal partnership money. Executives started whispering, "We went too far." Burton's gothic nightmare had alienated families, toy companies, and brand partners, the exact groups a billion-dollar franchise depended on. So the studio pivoted. Hard. The internal message became clear. Lighten it up. Make it colorful. Make it safe. Make it fun. And that's how Joel Schumacher entered the picture. He didn't come in to evolve Burton's vision. He came in to replace it. Warner Brothers gave him a mandate. Bring Batman back to commercial safety. Make something toy-friendly. Make something marketable. The result was a dramatic tonal shift. Burton's bleak architecture, psychological trauma, and grotesque villains were swapped for neon lights, campy performances, and merchandise-ready costumes. Gotham stopped being a nightmare and became a theme park. Whether people love or hate the Schumacher films, one thing is clear. They exist because Warner Brothers got scared of Burton's darkness. Batman Returns was the turning point. Proof that too much creative freedom could lead to a blockbuster the studio couldn't control. People argue about which Batman movie is the darkest. Nolan's trilogy has the realism, the moral heaviness, the terrorism allegories. But Batman Returns, it's darker in a different, more primal way. Burton doesn't show the darkness of society, he shows the darkness inside people. Penguin isn't a terrorist, he's a rejected child turned monster. Catwoman isn't a vigilante, she's trauma with a pulse. Max Schreck isn't a supervillain, he's capitalism with a smile. Every character reflects a different facet of emotional decay. Visually, the film is nightmarish. Shadows swallow characters whole. Faces are pale, distorted, and lit like horror icons. Gotham looks like a fever dream, claustrophobic, warped, and suffocating. Nolan's Gotham feels real. Burton's feels cursed. The emotional darkness is unmatched. There are no victories, no closure, no moral triumphs. Batman doesn't save the day. He merely survives it. The villains don't die as punishments, they die as tragic consequences of a broken world. As the credits approach, the documentary pans across the unforgettable images. Cobblepot's lifeless body sinking beneath the sewer water. Catwoman standing alone against the winter sky. Shrek's blackened skeleton frozen in a moment of electric revenge. Gotham's snow-covered streets glowing under Christmas lights that illuminate nothing but darkness. These aren't just scenes, they're symbols of a film that dared to be uncomfortable. Batman Returns pushed against the limits of what a superhero movie could be. It wasn't misunderstood because it was flawed. It was misunderstood because it was fearless. Burton turned Gotham into a psychological mirror. Every character showed a different kind of pain. Every action scene revealed a new layer of societal decay, and every design choice, every shadow, every grotesque detail served to remind us that darkness isn't just aesthetic. It's emotional. It's human. Today, audiences appreciate the film in ways 1992 simply wasn't ready for. In a genre now dominated by formula, Batman Returns stands out as a beautifully warped anomaly, a film with the courage to be strange, tragic, operatic, and unforgettable. And that's the dark truth the documentary leaves you with. Sometimes the most honest stories aren't the ones that save the world. They're the ones that expose it.